Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to ReZero Season 2, Episode 15. So last time, Subaru made a bet with Roswell that he could save both the mansion and the village. Not the village, the, God, what is it called? The, my mind is blanking. You know what I'm talking about. But he could save them both without having to worry about it. And he's enlisted the help of Otto and everything. He's gotten a little bit of info from Amelia about her issues. And so there's a lot more stuff going on here. And we kind of leave off with kind of all things going according to plan. Everything just starting to kind of kick off. So now we just got to see where it goes. So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm glad, like I said last time, I'm glad to be back with ReZero. And hoping to just see more as time goes on. Just to get more good stuff and to maybe reunite with some other characters we haven't seen for a while. And just have fun. So we're just going to get into this, hope for the best, and see what it has in store. So when the screen fades black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this episode kind of has two halves to it. The first half is about Otto. We get to learn about his past, we get to learn about his divine gift, and we kind of get some backstory into him that develops him further as a character and makes him just much more of a character. Like, in Season 1, he was very much a very small side character. Season 2 has definitely developed him much further than that and made him a lot more interesting. Especially finding out about his divine gift. And then we have the second half of this, which is basically just Subaru talking and arguing with Amelia. And these two halves are very different from each other for multiple reasons. The first half with Otto is a lot more action-packed and exciting. The second half is talking and arguing. It's very down-to-earth and very simple. The first half develops on things that we didn't know. It gives some new information and explains what that means. The second half just reiterates stuff that we did very much already know. The first half was extremely interesting and made me like Otto more as a character. It was good. The second half was a little hard to sit through and just continues to make me very mixed in terms of Subaru's character. So let's talk about the second half first so we can end off on a more positive note. Subaru is selfish. We've known this. This is not new information. He is extremely selfish. He is extremely self-serving. Even after that big discussion with Rem and everything on the rooftop in Season 1, we've known that Subaru is still selfish, that he's still chasing after and finding love in Amelia for his own sake. That he loves her for himself rather than seeing it for her. He does not view this love as an equal thing, because it's not. Even if Amelia does love him back, which it's been made very clear by this point she does, it's for different reasons and in different ways. Amelia loves him in a more wholesome, just overall healthy manner. She is scared for him and worried for him. She wants him to be safe. She hates seeing him get hurt. It makes her sad. It makes her cry. We see that her love for him is in complement of him. She wants to see him happy in everything. She wants to see him smile. But as was pointed out in this episode, Subaru's love for her is selfish. He doesn't care what negatives she has to her. And I mean, that sounds all nice and good. Like, he still loves her even despite her flaws. But he doesn't see those flaws. And that doesn't help her. By ignoring her flaws altogether, he's ignoring parts of her that she does need help with. He sees her as this... He says she's not an angel or a goddess, but that's how he treats her. He puts her so high on a pedestal that he doesn't see her as a person. He sees her as a goal, as something to pine over, rather than to actually care for. He loves the idea of her more than who she actually is. And that's why he's able to say all this, why he's able to ignore her own feelings when it comes to their quote-unquote relationship. He ignores her own feelings, he ignores her worries, her concerns, and just kind of throws them away. He's saying, I love you, despite everything, I love you. He's so obsessive with it. It's creepy, honestly. And like, I know that's the point. ReZero as an isekai, it very much flips a lot of the typical isekai tropes on their head. He's not a perfect hero by any means, in terms of his ability, in terms of his personality and morality. He's nowhere near perfect. He's not the best person. While in a lot of isekai, you see that the main character is often kind of the pinnacle of humanity, practically. And there's a lot of other ways that, obviously, ReZero flips a lot of this on its head, too, but just in terms of the character, in terms of Subaru himself, he's very different. And I get that's the point, but it's hard to watch sometimes. It's like, you remember in season 1, where Emilia went off on Subaru after his fight with Julius and all. And she just belted into him because of his selfishness and everything. And it's like, he's not really changed that much. Like, he's gotten maybe a little bit better. But he's still extremely selfish about this. The love he feels for her is entirely self-serving. It is entirely for his sake. He refuses to see it from her side. And the one thing she asks of him here, tell me why you did this. Tell me why you abandoned me, why you left during the night and lied. You said you were going to stay. Why did you lie and why did you leave? That's all he had to reveal. It's super simple. She probably would have understood if you explained everything. But instead, he says, I can't tell you, and deflects the conversation back to just, I love you with all my heart. Like, that should, basically he's saying that should be enough. And it's like, no. No. That's not how anything works here. It's not like full levels of like disgusting or horrible or anything. He's not that bad, but it's very much unhealthy. And he doesn't realize it. He doesn't understand it, that it's entirely a selfish love. He doesn't understand that it's not a healthy love. Because him even saying in this, like, no matter what happens, I'll love you. No matter, but then going off and saying, oh, nothing's gonna happen anyway, and it's like, you're kind of, you're not making yourself look good with that, dude. Like, you're just like, you're just showing that you're not actually giving her feelings, her worries, any real, like, care. Like, you're not trying to help her through this. You're basically just telling her to ignore those feelings, to just throw them aside and just be stronger. It's the equivalent of saying, like, toughen up, buttercup. As silly as that sounds, that's basically what he's telling her. He's telling her to toughen up. And not in an encouraging way at all. It's not okay. This scene was not wholesome. It was not beautiful. It was not encouraging. It was all the opposite. That was not... Obviously, it's not as bad in terms of couples like other couples out there in media. But it's still not a type of couple relationship you should ever strive for. You should never want to have that kind of relationship with someone. Whether you're in either camp, you should never strive to be as obsessive and dismissive as Subaru, but you should never strive to be with someone who is either, like Emilio. And while there's no, like, straight up confirmation that they're together, I think that kiss kind of, it kind of sealed that a little bit. I feel like it's telling us they're together now. And it's an unhealthy relationship. So it's a little upsetting to me. And I'm not saying that I think that he would have a better relationship with Rem at this point. I'm not even saying that at this point. I'm just saying that Amelia deserves better than someone who's just not going to listen to her. And if Subaru can work on that and become better, then okay. But right now, it's not good. It's not good. So let's talk about the first half now. Let's get back into something a little more positive. Otto is a character who has interested me a lot. He's just a very nice, fun character in Season 1, and now in Season 2, he's been given quite a bit more development. We get to see a lot more of him, get to see some different sides to him, and now we get to learn more about his past. We see that he comes from what seems to be a pretty well-off family, just based on the context clues, even though nothing is ever specifically stated in regards to that. He has a couple siblings and two very clearly loving parents. However, he was very non-responsive in his early years. He did not speak and couldn't really communicate well because of his divine gift. Due to all the noise and everything that he would constantly be hearing, he had no real way to properly communicate. It hindered his ability to. And so his older brother helped him by teaching him to write things out instead, to be able to communicate that way. And by age 10, he was able to control his divine gift a little better, allowing him to make sense of the noise and hear it as voices rather than just random, just noise. And it's also implied that he learned to control it as well, being able to actually turn it off at times. It's something that he was able to completely control to some degree by some point around then. However, he ends up getting into some trouble with that gift and some other kids in the neighborhood. At one point, he upsets this young couple when he reveals that the guy is the 8th one that the girl has been with. He's chased out of town and ends up having to make a living on his own, just becoming a merchant by necessity. And we kind of know what happens from there, because it all works out in the end, and we know he eventually hooks up with Subaru and all. But before that, he does end up also coming in contact with Betelgeuse, who ends up kidnapping him. And though he is saved by Anastasia Hoshin's camp, specifically Ricardo and the little cat twins, he does kind of get this almost new outlook through it, which has helped him in the current day be able to take on Garfield with the help from Ram. The fight itself between Otto and Garfield is mostly just an avoidance fight. Like Otto is literally just trying to avoid him and setting out traps and stuff the entire time. He's not really like doing any active fighting, and Gar is mostly just chasing him the entire time. The more active fighting comes in with Ram. Once she comes in, she and Gar begin to actually do more like straight up battle. But in the end, Gar manages, I guess, to defeat them, or at least get past them, and find his way to where Subaru and Amelia are. I assume he didn't kill them. I assume he just managed to either defeat or get past them. They were only distracting him. It was only a temporary distraction anyway, so yeah. So we still don't know what the plan is. We still don't know what's going on. This episode was mostly just here to give us some feedback on Otto, just to give us, or not feedback, some information on Otto, some backstory and everything, to give us a little more of a character for him, as well as to reiterate, once again, Subaru's selfish love for Amelia. It didn't feel like quite as bad as like a filler or anything, but it was definitely, it definitely felt like a time padder. Like this episode was there just to pad out for time, and just to kind of elongate the story a little bit. Like I don't feel like it really accomplished anything with the current goal or current mission that Subaru is on, to liberate both the sanctuary and the mansion. Like, all this was like finding Amelia, and so Subaru and her could have a discussion, which just didn't really do much, except, I guess, help her a little bit, which, again, not really the healthy way of helping her, but... And it gave, again, it was wonderful that it gave Otto some development and backstory and everything, but it's like they still could have done that without giving us an entire episode of basically nothing happening in the main story. I don't know, it's just... Maybe I was expecting more. It wasn't the best episode of this series by any means, but it wasn't bad. And again, it did have some really good aspects with helping us learn a lot more about Otto. But again, the entire thing with Subaru's love for her, it's just like, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. And we really shouldn't view that as any kind of goals. Like, it's just not really okay. So hopefully Subaru will learn, and hopefully he'll become better in terms of all that and start taking other people into account when he tells them he loves them, and not actually just trying to force his feelings on them without, while at the same time ignoring their feelings. And the entire thing with where he goes in for the kiss, and it's like, if you don't want this, just dodge. And it's like, that's a little unsettling, dude. Like, that's not it. That's almost a little creepy. Like, that's not okay. That's it. I mean, she did want it. She very much wanted to kiss. She very much loves him too. That much is clear. But at the same time, it's like, that's not okay to say something like that. It sounds very assaulty. Just to say it sounds very assaulty. It sounds like that's something that you would hear a sexual assaulter say. Like, if she didn't want it, she would just dodge. It's like, ew. And it's like, I know he didn't mean it like that. I understand that, but it just sounded that way, and it's just, it grossed me out when he said that. So Subaru has a long way to go still. He has a lot to learn, and he still definitely has to better himself in terms of relationships with Amelia. Because otherwise, there's no way their relationship could last and be any level of healthy if he would continue to see it that way. But either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of ReZero Season 2? And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.